For our second lesson in our transformations unit, we're going to focus on translations. And these are simply a fancy way to talk about sliding a figure left or right or diagonally in the coordinate plane. All right, so this is just kind of a slide, but we'll refer to it as a translation. All right, we've had reflections. We're going to have rotations next, but for today we're going to deal with translations. And our goal is to describe the properties of a figure before and after a translation. Along the way, we're learning the notation. We're going to do our best work with that, and hopefully this video will be shorter than the last one. Here is some key vocabulary on a translation. Basically, what we're doing is we're taking these points, A, B, and C, and we are shifting them diagonally, which is basically a left and a down in this particular picture. Maybe we'll go right and down, or right and up, or left and up. And that is how we would map this out, is we would say the triangle ABC is translated by X units along the X axis. So in this case, it would be back 1, 2, 3, 4, back 4, and then down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, down 6. So this would be the translation, and we use brackets, -4, -6, of triangle ABC. Oops, triangle. And then this would model for us that shift. Now you can count that from anywhere. You can count that from here, back 4, down 6, back 4, down 6, and it would give us that same translation regardless of which point we are referencing. Now, as always, we can trace the segments A prime, B prime, C prime, and these segments should be parallel to each other. They are not perpendicular to any line of reflection because we're not reflecting at this point. We're simply moving left and down for this particular example. So let us try to translate this image, triangle EFG, and we're going to translate it in this way. We have T, we get the subscript with bracket 6, -5 of triangle EFG is going to give us our new location. So here are the locations for E, F, and G, and there it is plotted there. Pause the video if you need to graph that. But what we're going to do is we can pick any one of these points, E, F, or G, and we can go to the right 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that would give us our F prime. We can do the same thing with E, to the right 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is going to be E prime. And then with G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This would give me G prime. When I use my ruler, you should have your ruler there, you will create a new figure that is simply a translation of your original triangle. Now you can confirm that. By drawing in your lines connecting each point to from the pre-image to the image. And each of these segments, I'm going to draw them as dashed lines here. Each of these segments should be, whoops, this one's not showing up very well. Each of these should be parallel to the other. And we can kind of tell that either by eyeballing it or by actually calculating the slopes. We should see that these lines are all parallel to one another. That means we did a good job. We can find that this length is the same as that length. We can compute using the distance formula. This length is the same as that length, etc., etc. Now here, I would like for you to do this translation on your own. Go ahead and translate this. This is one that you're going to do for example 1b using this description here in this pre-image. Go for that, pause the video. I'm going to move on to the next one. Writing a rule. When we write a translation rule, we're basically saying, how do I get from point P to point P prime? Or how do I get from triangle ABC to triangle A prime, B prime, C prime? So this translation of point P is going to give us P prime. All right, and the question is, what is the translation? Well, we need to have a horizontal, comma, vertical. All right, and so the horizontal here is we go up 2, and then we go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Up 2. To the right 5. Those are both positive values. Up is positive. Whoops. And then to the right is positive. But do you see how I did this wrong? Oh, no. Are we allowed to make mistakes? Yeah, we're allowed to make mistakes as long as we learn from them and correct them. So usually we're used to counting rise over run, and so that was the mistake that Mr. Hibbett just modeled for you. All right. Instead, we're going to write this as 5, 2, because we went to the right 5 and then up 2. of point P to get P prime. So please make sure that you don't have this common error, all right? In fact, this is how we discuss it in the online textbook. They say this is a common error that people will put the vertical shift before the horizontal shift, all right? So make sure that you have the correct answer written here, all right? Tricked you. All right, next, can we write the rule for this situation? Going from the pre-image here, STUV, to the image S prime T prime U prime V prime. Well, what we should notice is that we are going to translate horizontal comma vertical for figure STUV to get S prime T prime U prime V prime, all right? And you can pick any one of these vertices to recognize the shift. It looks like we go back 1 and then down 4, back 1, down 4. It doesn't matter where you pick. Everywhere should be back 1, horizontal, back 1, and then down 4, we write as a -4. Right? This is how we would write that rule. Make sure you follow that. Make sure you understand where these numbers came from. Make sure you're understanding this notation that we're using. This is a subscript. So if we draw, this is the line that you're writing on. Notice that this goes through that line that we write on. We try to keep this straight on the same line. This isn't like it's lowercase, only coming halfway up. It's going through that line, not all the way below, not on that line. It's over that line. Okay? It's example 2b. And then here's going to be the last part. We're going to talk about compositions of rigid motions. So compositions is a little bit tricky because we read it backwards. All right? So compositions, we're going to read these backwards, and it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for us, but hopefully we'll grow in our comfort as we practice it in class. Basically, a composition uses this little circle here to notate that we are composing two different things. Here I have a translation and then a reflection. So we would do the translation first, then we would do the reflection of triangle ABC. Sometimes we can translate, we can reflect. Here we're going to translate and then reflect is kind of this notion right here. And this is just an example. I'm not actually going to do this translation then reflection. I'm going to show you this kind of a couple different ways. But it's what we're going to do is we're going to get the image of this translated back 2 and then up 5. Then we're going to take that image, or that next image, and we're going to do another translation. Another motion. We're going to do, in this second case, a reflection across whatever line it is that we're reflecting across. But we'll have the same notation for reflections and translations, but we put this little open circle. It looks like a degree sign, but it's in line with, it's kind of floating in the middle of the line in which we write on, all right? And so here are the lines that we uppercase, subscript, and then this is in the middle of the line, all right? It's floating in the middle, that little open circle. All right, so this is read as the reflection over line L from the translation of back 2, up 5 of triangle ABC. All right, reading that is again something that we're practicing. How does this notation, how do we actually read that notation? How do we write that notation? How do we execute that notation? We're going through all of these steps. So here in this case, I've got point A, which is located at -3, +4. And we are going to do a double, I forgot a parentheses here, a double, whoops, that parentheses should go over here, a double translation. So first, we're going to move this, and I'm going to do this first one in red and then the next one in blue. The first one in red means I'm going to go over 2, up 2 to get A prime. This is A and that's A prime. Whoops. And then we're going to translate that again, up 1 to, to the right 1, down 1. And I'm going to do that in blue. To the right 1 and down 1 is going to be A double prime. So what this does is that we do the first one where we go over 2, up 2. Then I go over 1, down 1 from there. Obviously, I can rewrite this as a single translation of point A to get A double prime. And that translation is to the right 3, up 1. Right? Which basically is summing the 1 and the 2, summing the -1 and the +2. All right? So we can always take a composition of translations and write it as an individual translation. But notice that that gives us from A to A double prime, not just A prime. All right, so there's a little bit of a notation there. Be aware of that. Here I have a triangle, and we are going to translate that triangle to the best of our ability. Example 3b. We've got triangle ABC, which is located at -3, +4. We've got -6, +3, and -1, -2. This is C, A, and B. And we're going to do double translations. I'm going to do translation 1 in red, and then translation 2, double prime, in blue. All right? So the first one is up 2 over 2. Let me connect my dots using my ruler. And again, I know this takes a minute, so we got to obviously be patient with the process there. We want to do a good job. Use our straight edge. Don't just sketch this freehand. Do good work with your ruler. We're going to take each of these vertices up 2, and then to the right 2, or to the right 2 and then up 2, to the right 2 and then up 2, to the right 2 and then up 2, to get our A prime, B prime, and C prime. So this is, again, a step-by-step. We know that the result here, since this is the same translation, is going to be an over 3, up 1. But we're going to do it as a double translation first. So this is our A prime, B prime, C prime. But then we do the second translation, which is to the right 1, down 1. To the right 1, down 1. To the right 1, down 1. To the right 1, down 1 for C double prime, A double prime, and B double prime. It gives us a new triangle, the blue triangle, that you can see here. This is a double translation, which fits as the same thing as taking this to the right 3 up 1 of triangle A, B, C. Gives us A double prime, B, triangle. A double prime, B double prime, C double prime. Okay, so we want to make sure that we're using that proper notation as best we can. And again, here I botched the parentheses that we need around this, and that's okay. We're going to get better at this as we go. All right, last one. We are going to do a double reflection. And the punchline here is that we can establish a double reflection as a translation. That's kind of the punchline here that I want to highlight. And then we're going to try to think through how we do that. So again, same locations for A, B, and C. Here's our original pre-image. And our goal is to make sure that we can do 2 reflections, but we go from the inside out. We're going to start with reflecting over the x-axis first, and then second. So we're going to reflect over the x-axis, which simply changes the y values. The x values stay the same. The x values stay the same. The y value is what changes. So here is our first reflection over the x-axis. We simply change the y values. The x values stay the same. All right? But then we're going to reflect that again over the line y = 3. All right, so reflecting over the line y = 3 means we have to understand that y = 3 is a horizontal line. But I have to take this distance right here of 3 and 3 makes 6. And I'm going to make it go 3 units above. I'm sorry, 6 units above. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for B double prime. A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm sorry, from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you make it go 7 higher than that blue line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A double prime. This one is only 1 space away from that blue line. So I'm going to go 1 space for C double prime. And this gives me this blue triangle for our double reflection along these horizontal lines, the x-axis and y = 3. So x-axis again is y = 0. So we're just reflecting that doubly on these parallel lines. When we reflect over this line and then over that line, both of those horizontals, we end up with a vertical translation. All right? So I want for you to consider that r of y equals 3 composed with r over the x-axis for triangle ABC, whoops, it's ABC, is equal to what translation for triangle ABC? All right, can you tell me that? All right, that brings us to a close. Hopefully you can describe the properties of the figure before and after a translation.